Hey guys, it's Jess, and I'm making another video because I wanted to talk to you guys about identifying as non binary. I'm going to be talking about my own personal experiences as a non binary individual and how it is that I feel about myself and how it is that I identify personally. I've been non binary for about a year now. I discovered that I was non binary last year, and I really do feel comfortable in this identity that I have discovered, and it's definitely been something that is completely new to me when it comes to identifying as something that is not exactly socially accepted, unfortunately. Basically, a non binary individual is a person that does not fit within the gender binary. You have male and then you have female, and there's maybe some people who are non binary who feel as though they are in between those two or feel as though they're nowhere within the gender binary, and that is where I am. I do not identify as either male or female. I do not identify with masculinity or femininity. And that's just me personally. Um, I've felt this way like for a while, even before I had really had a word to put to how it is that I was feeling. But in this society, you kind of have to suppress those feelings, I guess, because they're not necessarily accepted socially, and you basically just have to go with the flow of everybody else. So it's like I was doing things the way everybody else would do, and I didn't really think much about how it is that I felt as an individual. And it's pretty hard. It's not easy being a non-binary individual in a world that is basically filled with non with binary stuff. Basically, you're lumped into a category. You either have to be a girl or you either have to be a boy. There's no such thing as being either. There's no such thing as not identifying with either. The society may assume, but non-binary people do exist, and we are very, very adamant in how it is that we feel. Um, for instance, I do not necessarily feel as though like my body reflects how it is that I feel on the inside. Um, my gender identity is not what is um given, I guess. Like I I was designated female at birth, but I do not feel that way, and my body reflects female, which I do not really associate myself with. And it's pretty hard to basically have my body match how it is that I feel in my mind and my heart. Like I and as a result I wear a binder because binding is one of the ways that I feel closer to my own gender identity. I wear a binder because I basically want a flatter chest, and a binder basically is the garment that a person wears when they want to have a more flat chest, or if they want to be more male presenting, but that's necessarily not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to present as male, even though most people will probably think that's what I was trying to do. I have no desire to be masculine in any way. That's not what I want. I have dysphoria, and dysphoria is basically like a dissatisfaction with your appearance and the way that you look. Like some people may have dysphoria with their genitals or maybe even their chest, and for me it is my chest. My chest gives me a lot of dysphoria. Also, my voice sometimes gives me dysphoria. Sometimes I wish it was a little deeper, but um, in the same instance, I don't really want to lose. the way that I sound because I really like to sing. So that's a struggle, but um, most of my dysphoria comes from my chest, which is why I do bind, like I said earlier. And not every non-binary person binds. Not every non-binary person, feels as though they have to bind. They don't necessarily feel dysphoria in that way. Some of them may have dysphoria about their genitals, or they may not have any dysphoria at all. They may just be non-binary, and they may not, necessarily want to hide those features of their bodies because it doesn't bother them. And then there's social dysphoria, which is what I have, as well as the body dysphoria. Basically, the way that I look is not the way that other people see me. The way that I would like to present is a little harder because um, most of the time people have this idea that if you are non binary, you're supposed to present as androgynous. And I am not androgynous. I wish I was, but I'm not. And that's also a struggle because it's like you're trying to live up to an expectation that you know you can never live up to. I try my best. I wear clothing that I feel is gender neutral. I try to wear clothes that are not so clingy, and when I do, I make sure that I have my binder is nice and tight, so I can conceal my breasts better. Um, but it's not always easy because binding for me can be pretty painful, especially if I wear my binders several days in a row. It's not easy for me personally. Um, and not wearing a binder usually causes me more dysphoria, and it's it's just not an easy time. Um, I'm not really out to my family. And that's a really scary thing because I don't know how people are going to perceive me if I say that, yes, I am non binary. No, I don't identify as a girl. No, I don't identify as a boy. No, I don't want to transition to a boy, but I do want to get top surgery at some point. And they'll probably look at me and just they probably think that I had kind of lost it at some point, but that's not necessarily the case. Like, I don't feel as though how it is that I feel is wrong. I don't feel that how it is that I feel is unacceptable. It's just that we as a society have not come to a point where we have acknowledged people who do not feel as though they are fit, uh, well fit within the gender binary that we have created, and that um, these gender roles and the expectation of whatever sexual reproductive organ you have, you're supposed to basically allow that to control everything that you do. Basically, oh, well, if you have a penis, you're supposed to like sports and you're supposed to do all this other stuff. And if you have a vagina, oh, well, you're supposed to like the color pink and you're supposed to love cooking and, all this stuff. And that's obviously not true for everybody. Not everybody who has a vagina can cook. Not everybody who has a penis likes sports. And all of those, you know, gender stereotypes and expectations are absolutely ridiculous and they need to be thrown out. And you know it's it's pretty disheartening when everything you do, is based off of gender, or everything that society expects you to do is based off of gender. And when your gender does not match a certain activity, then people feel as though, oh, well, you're wrong, you're not doing it right. um I I like doing stuff that is intended for both the male and female gender. Um, I just do stuff like whatever. Like, I don't really have a preference. Like, I like what it is that I like, and I don't necessarily consider it as gendered. But obviously, there are some things that are gendered, and there are some things that are not. There are things that are all inclusive, and then there are things that are specific. And those specific things I usually have trouble with. And um, I often feel as though I get left out of a lot of things because everything's so gender specific. Everything is, oh, well, you have to do it this way. You have to identify this way in order to do this one particular thing. And that's not how it is that I feel. Personally, I feel as though this, like, whatever it is that I do, it is a non binary activity. Whatever it is that I enjoy is a non binary activity. You see what I mean? Like, if a person who does identify as a girl likes baseball, then that would be a girl thing, not necessarily a boy thing. You see what I mean? Like, if somebody who has a penis does something like crochet or arts and crafts or something that is considered as a girly thing, it's a boy thing as long as they're doing it. And for me, as long as I'm doing it, it's a non binary thing. It has nothing to do with gender, it has nothing to do with any of those things. So, for me, I do believe that gender is a social construct, and that we've been so brainwashed into believing that, everything is always so gendered, and we have to abide by these silly little rules that have been put in place, you know, that if we break the gender binary, that we're wrong. This gender binary, it needs to be broken. There's really no need for it. Everybody wants to tell you what it is that you can and cannot do based upon um what genitals you have. And that's kind of, it's not fair, because not everybody with those genitals may identify within the binary like me and other people who are non-binary. So um I, like I said, I really do feel comfortable in this identity that I have, whether people understand it or not. And eventually, in time, I'll come out to people and I'll tell them more about being non-binary, and what pronouns I use, which are Z, here, here's. But I also respond to they, them, theirs. But um, not many people would catch on to those. Not many people would even understand it. People always misgender me, and I know that I'm not out, and there's really nothing I can do about it if I'm not out to people. If I don't say, well, I'm non-binary, I don't use she, her, hers pronouns, but um, people, they look at me and they obviously see, oh, well, that's a girl, even though I don't feel like a girl, or that I don't necessarily think of myself as female, and I don't see myself as female. So, um, no one's going to use my pronouns unless I tell them what my pronouns are. And that's hard to do, especially when you have been called she all your life, and that's the one thing that people have come to understand. But even that makes me cringe. Like, titles, when people call me ma'am or miss, that really does bug me. I try not to get too upset about it, because I realize that people don't understand, and that people don't know how it is that I feel, especially my family. When my mom calls me girl, I get really upset about it. Like, I kind of grit my teeth and kind of suck it up until I do come out, and that probably won't be until I actually can get to a safe place where I can be without anybody telling me, oh, well, you can't identify that way. I feel as though if I have my own place, if I'm living on my own terms, then I can identify however it is that I want, and I can do as I please without being told that I can't, or that it's wrong, or, as long as you're living under this roof, blah, 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 generic parent stuff. But yeah, that's basically how it is that I feel. I don't really have a lot more to say about this, like, because it's kind of like a really hard thing to talk about sometimes because there's so much more that I could say, I guess. But if you guys do have any questions about how it is that I identify, why it is I identify this way, just like put your questions down in the comment section and I'll get to it as soon as I can. And I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. And yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.